Who's the next team we're looking at?
Josh.
So Josh did the big reach for Lamar Jackson in the first round. He took over Jed's position,
which shows in his running back positions.
It does indeed. But
at least he didn't get Antonio Brown, who was
he didn't pick he famously missed the beginning of the draft last year. His first quarterback taken was in the teens. I think it was 13th round. He got Mitchell Trubisky.
Yep.
So I can see him, like Michael didn't want a bad quarterback last year. Lamar Jackson has the potential to win him some games this year. Austin Eckler, with Melvin Gordon leaving, I think has the potential. Of course, Phillip Rivers isn't there anymore, but they are really going to rely on Eckler. Joe Mixon, I feel like because he plays for a trash team, does not get quite the accolades as a fantasy player. He put up a lot of good fantasy points last year. Amari Cooper, I think he's going to be really good because
there's so many weapons there.
But there's so many weapons. It's one of those who did the touchdowns go to.
Yeah.
I think Amari Cooper's going to have one of his better seasons, though. Calvin Ridley as well is going to have a good season. Jared Cook, you guys are making fun of my list here, but Jared Cook was the number 1 rated tight end from week 9 to 16 last year as far as yards and points go. Juju Smith-Schuster, big risk, very high reward potential with Ben Roethlisberger coming back. He could be a 1,600-yard receiver.
He fell so far because of Ben's injury last year. He fell so far.
He did really bad.
He could be a number one. He could be his number 1 wide receiver.
DK Metcalf could replace him. Marvin Jones Jr. could replace him. Marlon Mack, I feel like, is because they drafted Jonathan Taylor Thomas, has been like completely written off. But like we said, rookies, can you really trust them this year? I think Marlon Mack's going to do a lot better than people think. Ryan Tannehill, from weeks 9 to 16 last year, was number 4 overall quarterback. So he came in hot down the stretch. Robbie Anderson could also do some big plays for him. Broncos defense is okay. I've never heard of New England's kicker. But as far as this team goes, I think it's got some big upside, and I'm impressed with some of the good picks that Josh did. Maybe, I don't know. He made the playoffs last year.
Internet. Has anybody else noticed the internet dropping out on the main feed?
I have not.
Okay.
It's
not just me.
Well, I'm going to give this a 7.5, and that's mostly because I don't know what Eckler's going to do. And Joe Mixon has a new quarterback. So his running backs right now, I don't necessarily trust to carry the team. He's got some good receivers, but he's really going to have to rely on Lamar Jackson to do 30 or 40 like he did last year, which he still could do. But if he even has one bad week, he might score 110 points but still lose. So 7.5 for me. But like I said, Juju Smith-Schuster and like some of those other picks could make him the best team in this league.
I'll go next just because I'm going to have to mirror a lot of the same things that you said. My only thing that I'll add to that, other than the Lamar Jackson thing, is like on the opposite end of the spectrum with Austin Eckler, you have now Tyrod Taylor backing up that team. And did his self-confidence go out the window? Because I know he pushed himself real hard towards the end of the Bills, but now they're going to have to rely on a running back. So he could be a 30-point per game person. But at the same time, Joe Mixon also backing up a rookie quarterback. So Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler could be the main weapons that you're going to be seeing here. So again, I agree with you. It could be you could pull a total of 15 to 20 points between your two running backs, or you could be pulling a total of 50 to 60.
I actually think Tyrod Taylor's going to help Eckler because he famously never takes any chances and always checks down to the running back. And Austin Eckler was one of the best receiving running backs in the last 2 years. So that he has the potential to get like 10 catches a game like Christian McCaffrey. So that Tyrod Taylor could be good, but like I said, it's still kind of an unknown situation.
Yeah, and I think having Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones in the same team is going to open him up. So I think that he's going to do really well. Obviously, there's not a single person that follows anything remotely out football that doesn't think that Amari Cooper is going to do great. So that's an awesome pickup. I think Juju Smith-Schuster, if ever there's a time to shine, it's going to be this year.
Yeah.
So in a flex spot. I mean, there's a potential for him to be wide receiver 1 or 2. So I think that having Juju as a flex is great. Not to mention looking down at the depth of this team, Metcalf and Marvin Jones Jr. and T.Y. Hilton. I mean, all just wide receivers. And then I think his worst hit, I shouldn't say his worst, but his bottom tier wide receiver being Robbie Anderson. I mean, his wide receiver depth is fantastic. His running back depth, having Marlon Mack and Phillip Lindsay, scares me because Marlon Mack didn't perform last year like I needed him to, and neither really did Phillip Lindsay. But again, as long as the top 2 stay healthy, I think that there's a lot of potential there. And then essentially you have a running back as your quarterback as well. So I'm going to have to give this a 7.5, maybe even an 8. I know I'll give it an 8. I think that this is a solid draft. And I know Josh isn't here right now, but what did we say he was doing?
He was roster baiting.
Roster baiting, yes.
He was very proud.
He was extremely proud of this, and he has every right to be. This is a good draft.
Sorry, I'm just going to have a bunch of league references every time we talk on this
that's
podcast.
fine.
We did lose Roger, but did his opinion really matter in the first place? Probably not.
Good point.
Ryan.
Daniel and Ryan at the same time. Go.
Okay. Again, I don't know a whole lot as of right now, but I do know that he pulled Lamar Jackson really early. Like I don't even know what round he
First.
was. It a first?
It was the first round
pick.
Yeah.
6 overall, I think.
So I think that goes back to what you were saying though. He wanted a really good quarterback this year. But I don't know. I think from what you guys were saying, it sounds pretty solid. So 7 is what I'm going to go with.
I think you should just start everything from now on with, but I don't know much. I know I love you.
I'm going to learn more over the season. That's why I'm just sitting here listening to you guys talk.
I'll say that as far as Michael goes, which is our most recent, just completely rookie to football, Michael knows a lot about a lot of players now. We make fun of him because he still doesn't know any of the defensive players' names because they're just defense in fantasy football.
That's completely accurate. I'm not even going to try to.
You know that I hadn't watched any football or done anything with the NFL before last season.
Well, to be fair, Bruce, you're a better liar than Michael, where you just you'll look at a player and be like, Tyler Boyd last year. Man, did you see what he did that one time? Wow.
That's because I don't watch any.
Why would not
analysts
I don't
or
even know
read
who
any
Tyler
articles.
Boyd is.
But I bet you could analyze him a lot better than Michael because Michael would just be like, I don't know. He's wearing
Sorry for being an honest person.
No.
Okay.
Tell me I don't pick up good waivers though.
Yeah, you're always
good.
first on the waiver wire. Shut up about it and rate.
damn
I
right.
called him Roger. I called him Roger already. Sorry, Josh. Roger is no longer with us. He fell off the feed. I don't know why.
He's dead.
Anyway, if you've seen Roger, you probably have. That's all.
Just look for any clips.
Bruce, rate this team.
I don't know much about his team at all. I'm
no
not
rookies,
familiar
that's
with a
why.
lot of these players. Aside from Austin Eckler, I think is a good pickup, definitely. And Calvin Ridley, I was watching to try and pick him up as like a 3rd or 4th wide receiver for me. But other than that, I don't know. I would give him a 7.5 just based on what you guys were saying.
Nathan.
I think that he benefited from the fact that Joe Mixon fell really far down in the draft.
I agree.
Because I was going to take Mixon before he took him because he had just fallen that far. Him taking Jackson paid off because of the Mixon, but his receivers are solid. Hilton can be hit and miss. If he's healthy with Rivers, it should be a decent. I personally like his roster a lot. He may need his tight ends a little iffy, but outside of that, he's got a solid roster. I'm gonna give it a 7.5, 8.
I'll write down 8 for you. Lyndon, did you rate it yet?
No, not yet.
Go for it.
I mean, I like it a lot. I think, like Nathan said, he got Mixon for a steal. Really, he benefited from that. Lamar Jackson's good. I actually really like his backup too. I think Tannehill is going to be all right in Tennessee. I think he's going to do some decent things. I'd say probably a 7.5.
Okay. Who's left?
I think everyone's
That's
gone.
everyone, yeah.
Oh yeah, Roger's not here. So
Roger left.
Roger, I know you're gone right now.
I can't remember if I rated it or not, but
I don't know if you. I don't think you did. Give me a number.
I like his team.
That's not a number.
I know. Everybody else got a long-winded fucking answer. Why can't I say I like his team? I'll give it a 6.5. I haven't rated anybody over a 6.5 yet.
That's because we haven't got to my team yet, which is next, which I'm excited about. Because this will actually be the first time I've looked at my own team.
Okay, Josiah's team. Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, Devontae Parker, George Kittle, Melvin Gordon. Saints defense, Zane Gonzalez, Jarvis Landry, Deontay Johnson, Mike Gesicki, Justin Jefferson, Baker Mayfield, Benny Snell, James Washington. It's time to rate that team. Ryan, you're first.
Hey, it looks good. 7.
That's the way I like it.
I'll go next. I think Josh Allen's going to be a sleeper killer pick this year. So I really like your quarterback. I'm so torn on Derrick Henry. I know we talked about this in the draft. I just obviously think he's going to be great, but he also has a chance to not be great. I mean, anyone knows anything about the NFL in the last year or two, dog butt on the screen, everyone, what's up with that? So, I mean, it goes without saying. He could be great. He could not be great. I literally know nothing about Miles Sanders. There's the depth that I know about the NFL, so I can't comment on that.
Miles Sanders.
And I really actually don't know. I don't know anything about your wide receivers either. So I'm gonna have trouble with a rating on this one, honestly. But I do know that if the injuries stay consistent, and even if they don't stay consistent, George Kittle is a great tight end pick. I mean, honestly, in the NFL right now, there's like 4 stellar tight ends, and you've got one of the 4. So kudos to that. I love George Kittle. Just watching him play is great because he's one of the few people that play because he loves to play football and not because he's looking to get a W. So that always translates well to points. Melvin Gordon, he should do great on this team. I personally think he's going to be a rock star with Denver. So I think that's a great flex spot. I mean, I think you're looking at a 15, 20-point player right there. Saints defense, I'm never keen on them as a defense. I think they're a great defense, but I also have seen them play against teams that don't have the best offense and they get 50 points. So I think it's fine. I have trouble rating this again because you know a lot more about the players than I do, and I'm looking at the depth of your team and I'm thinking, I don't know any of these people. So me personally, only rating your team based on my knowledge, and it's because you pick these people because you know a lot more about them than I do, obviously. So I'm not trying to I don't want you to take this as like an offense.
No, you can rate it as poorly as possible.
No, I was gonna give it a 7, just because I know that you pick those players because you have faith in them and you know a lot more about football than I do. Literally the only person on your bench that I know other than Baker Mayfield is Jarvis Landry. So there's that. But yeah, I think that I'm assuming there's a reason you took. I don't know who Miles Sanders is, A.J. Brown or Devontae Parker, but I'm assuming if that's your wide receiver core, they're probably all right. So I got to give it a 7.
Well, Miles Sanders is a running back. So
I know he's a running back. I'm saying that Miles Sanders is running his wide receiver core.
I would.
Shut up, Daniel.
I mean, I don't know much about this whole team either. I would give it a 7 just because that I would just default to a 7 because I don't know a lot of the players on this team. And I imagine that you just have picked.
I trust Josiah's judgment.
Based on
a
a strategy that you have.
I'm going to go 7-2.
7.2.
No explanation. No explanation, so Josiah can have his 40 minutes to go on about it.
I will take all 40 minutes, possibly 45. Nathan.
I like First, I like Allen. Being a Bills fan, yeah, but I mean, he's a dual threat quarterback. He's got a lot more weapons this year. He's going to get rushing touchdowns. Henry, I like Henry. I think he's going to be solid. I haven't been big on Sanders. Not a big fan. I like AJ Brown. Devontae Parker's going to get points. Melvin Gordon, I honestly don't like your bench though. You got 3 Pitt,
I do have 3 Steelers.
Homer.
3 Steelers that are the second and third string receivers on there, and then your running back. I don't even think he's going to be the number 2, but I could be completely wrong on that. That's just mine. I like Justin Jefferson. I like just Gesicki. I'm going to give it a 6. I just don't think it's as strong as everybody else. I think you got a couple solid ones, but overall, I think it's like a 6, 6.5.
5.5. There's just so much downside potential
There really is.
on your team, but there is also a lot of big play potential on your team. Devontae Parker being the only wide receiver in Miami that people actually know whenever you say his name, because everybody else opted out. Alan Hearns opted out. Josh Allen, I think he's going to take a step forward this year as a quarterback, but if he doesn't, your backup's Baker Mayfield. It scares me.
Not proud of that either.
And like Nathan said, all the Pitt players on your bench. Melvin Gordon, it's going to be, I don't really have a whole lot to say.
No, I agree with what everyone is saying. Josh Allen was not my target, but everybody in the draft took quarterbacks so high. He was just the best one left that I could get. Number 7 is statistically the worst pick to get in a 10-team draft, and I felt like I had to go in with a plan. So I looked up everybody's stats from week 9 to 16 last year. Whoever had a big week. Josh Allen was the number 3 overall quarterback. Derrick Henry was the number 2 overall quarterback. Miles Sanders was a little bit
quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Running back. Miles Sanders, I feel like his upside with Jordan Howard leaving is good. A.J. Brown was the number 3 overall receiver from weeks 9 to 16 last year. Devonta Parker was the number 2 behind Michael Thomas. George Kittle was the number 1 receiver in points per game. He was behind Jared Cook because Jared Cook played 2 more games than him. Did not want the Saints defense. The Steelers defense went so high. Zane Gonzalez I'm okay with, but Jarvis Landry was another one. He's the number 6 overall receiver. Mike Gesicki was number 6 overall tight end at the end of last year. Justin Jefferson, rookie, Bruce knows about. So he's taking Stephon Diggs' spot. I didn't want Baker Mayfield. I didn't really want Benny Snell or James Washington. Benny Snell I got hoping that maybe he does well, but he's probably going to be the first person I cut. James Washington was another one who was in the top 15 of the receivers last year, but he might not even start this year. So hopefully I can make some waiver wire pickups. I'm going to give this a 6 because I didn't really execute everything I wanted because I didn't get the quarterback I wanted. I didn't really get the defense I wanted, and I was hoping to make up a lot of ground there. So 6.
All right.
Everyone's getting really tired.
Yeah. Which is fine because I'm probably going to get ripped for my team. Which is
I'm
next.
I'm not tired. I was just distracted because
I'm
I found myself
tired.
trying to interrupt whenever I'm trying to keep myself distracted.
Okay.
I'm also drinking vodka and Red Bull, so there's that.
Vodka and red food.
I'm just taking in all
Fuck
this
your
stuff.
team, Daniel.
All right. So next is my team. I had 8th overall.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Yeah, it's been good.
Just kidding. Let's do this.
All right. Somebody else announce my team because it's my team.
I'll do this.
Hot garbage team.
So, quarterback Dak Prescott, Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers, Devontae Adams, and Allen Robinson the second as his wide receivers. Tight end Hayden Hurst. We have a flex with Wolf Fuller. 49ers defense with also their kicker, Robbie Gould. Bench starting down, Raheem Mostert, Marquise Brown, Daniel Jones, Blake Jarwin, CeeDee Lamb, Jordan Howard, and Henry Ruggs III. So I guess since I read it down, I'll go ahead and start. I'm never ever sold on Dak Prescott as a quarterback, and it's funny to me that you have Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones as your backup.
Yeah, that was the best I could do with a backup quarterback at that spot. So.
No, I mean, obviously from a fantasy perspective, it has no implication. I just think that's funny as a Dallas fan, or as you being a Dallas fan. Now, I will say this: I love Dalvin Cook as running back. I think he's great. I think last year you had him almost the whole year when you acquired him in a trade, I do believe.
Nope, I traded him for Amari Cooper and Tyreek Hill.
That's right.
Because Rodgers an idiot.
Regardless, Dalvin Cook was a great player for you.
Oh yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that does for you. I know nothing about Cam Akers.
Me neither. But he was the best running back that I could get whenever I got him.
But but Dalvin Cook, I was honestly considering when I was looking at the second spot, because obviously I knew Brittany was going to take Christian McCaffrey is number one. I didn't know who I was going to take, and I knew I didn't want Saquon, and it was between Dalvin Cook and
I'm surprised
Ezekiel.
Cook fell to number 8.
For sure.
I had every my plan was this is my plan. I was going to take Edward Soler, and if he wasn't there, I was going to just start off with the best wide receiver, Michael Thomas. That was my plan. And then I looked and I was like, Dalvin Cook's still there? Fuck it. I'll take him.
for sure. I like I said, I was surprised he fell. What, you were last or
Eighth.
yeah, eighth.
And he went early in all the mock drafts I did.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was-
He was top 4 in almost every draft.
So I love that. Your flex scares me because I know Will Fuller. Shit, I can't talk.
Will Ferrell.
Will Fuller is one of those players like last year. He could score 25 points a game, but the next one he does nothing.
Okay, well, hear me out on this one, okay? Will Fuller was always behind DeAndre Hopkins. Guess who's not there anymore?
That's true. That's a good point, and he's really good.
yeah.
So he's really talented player. Your defense is fantastic. We'll see how they hold up this year. The kicker's solid all the way through. I will say this though, I like your bench. I do. I think that there's some decent depth there.
I like 2 or 3 things on my bench, but there's some unknowns.
So 49ers had a propensity to spread the running game. They were an all running team pretty much, and they spread that running game across 4 players, and 2 of them are gone now. Yeah. And one of their starters is still there, Raheem Mostert, and that's who you got on your bench. So
And all of their wide receivers are hurt.
Exactly. So I really think that's at least for the first couple of weeks until everyone gets healthy. I think that's a great start because he really did prove himself last year. Mostert had a great year. I think that Jarwin, coming off of being, he's the younger, better tight end on the team.
I think Blake Jarwin's going to break out this year.
I agree. So
Really do.
I've taken a lot of time. I'm going to give your team a 7. I think it's great.
It's better than I thought anybody was going to rate it. So thank you.
I like it.
Would appreciate
49ers defense is solid. I had them last year. Or I had Patriots last year.
Thanks, Josh.
I was watching them. They had a lot of points last year. I think you're going to do great.
So Dak Prescott, although I don't believe he's a good quarterback in real life, he's a great fantasy quarterback. So he was one of the people I was actually looking at before people started taking quarterbacks in the first round.
He was my 3rd rated quarterback that I was going to take. And people were taking them so early, I was like, I've got to take Prescott or I'm going to get stuck with Sam Darnold.
He was number in the second half of last year, he was the number 5 quarterback. So I feel like that was a good pick for you. Dalvin Cook, I'm always hesitant from people that had an injury prone last season. Cam Akers could split time with Henderson. Cam Akers is another one of those, like, in 3 years, could be a superstar. I don't know if I see it this year. Devonta Adams, I feel like, is one of the more overrated receivers, but because he plays with Aaron Rodgers, he gets the points.
No other targets.
I was going to say he's the only. Him and Aaron Jones are the 2.
Allen Robinson, I feel like, has all the talent, but none of the quarterback. So
I think Allen Robinson will have a better year with Wentz in that offense. So
he's on Chicago.
I was going to say, wait,
Foles,
what?
No,
Sorry, I was thinking Eagles.
Something
Wentz.
happened in the last 10 minutes.
No.
Hayden
Foles.
Hurst.
Getting tired.
I am. The Baltimore team did so well last year with their tight ends, especially Mark Andrews, that Hayden Hurst went to the Falcons, and the Falcons tight ends did really well last year. Austin Hooper
was like one of the top rated
until
tight
Roger
ends.
injured him. So Hayden Hurst was one of my people I'm looking at. Raheem Mostert on your bench there. I like him. Will Fuller, Marquise Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, they all have the giant 85-yard touchdown potential. So those, you just have to pick the right one that week to get that touchdown.
Every year, my flex spot's my part where I'm like, I'm going to start this guy, but the dude on my bench gets 30 points.
But I think Marquise Brown could be a superstar. Jordan Howard, however he does in Miami, I don't know. He's splitting time with whatever the 49ers quarterback, listen.
The Miami running back.
Running back, yeah. So
you were wrong on the team and the
Matt
position.
Breida.
Matt Breida, that's it. So Jordan Howard could be really good there. Matt Breida, I feel like, is the better running back as far as being more dynamic.
He's also in the same position as like Devontae Adams. Like they've got nobody on that team.
Yeah.
So it's it's hard to tell.
I think your team's really good. Like I said, Dalvin Cook is a superstar when he's healthy. You have some depth there. Your defense and kicker are very good. I'm going to give this a 7.5. If you start the correct flex
Yeah.
could be a 9. But most likely you're going to have Henry Ruggs on your bench with 3 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 150 yards.
Yeah.
So Daniel Jones, I feel like is also a sneaky good backup. So that's good for you. So what did I give that? 7.5?
7.5,
Yeah.
Yep.
Nathan,
He's half asleep.
I'm tired.
No, I was talking about Nathan.
I am too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we all are.
I like Prescott. I think he's put big numbers. I can't believe Dalvin Cook fell to you. That just blows my mind. Cam Akers is hit or miss. I personally like your receivers. Adams and Robinson, I think, are both going to have 1,000 yards and at least 7 touchdowns each because they're the best players on their team. Hayden Hurst, I think, has a down year. Fuller will be decent. Honestly, though, I like Daniel Jones, but I hate the rest of your bench. Marquise Brown could have you 5 catches. He could have you 0. CeeDee Lamb, who knows who's going to get the ball in Dallas. And Henry Ruggs, I think, is probably the best player on your bench. So I'll give you a 7.
Still better than what I was expecting.
Lyndon.
I'll give it a 7 too.
7.2.
Prescott. Yeah, right. Prescott. I think it all depends on how Dallas's line does, because he's shown that when pressure's on him, he's not as good.
But he's got the upside
I like
to scramble.
Dalvin Cook. I like most of your starters. I'm in the same boat as Nathan, where the bench, but that being said, I don't. That's not your fault. I think we're starting to see like draft position really dictate backups at this point. So
The top 4 that are on my bench, Mostert, Brown, Jones, and Jarwin, are like high upside, like very high upside, but could also fuck me if I started them in the wrong week. So
I feel like you have the same problem as me where you pick some homers that could potentially do really well, but also Blake Jarwin could be your first cut if he just doesn't do anything this year. But because I picked some Homer Steeler picks, but also Blake Jarwin could pop off this year. So, Lyndon, what number did you give that? 7.2. That's right. Bruce.
I had him at a 7 as well. I mean, just mainly because it's just a solid team. Dak Prescott was solid. I think I had him for last year, and he was solid all year. Dalvin Cook and Devontae Adams are both great players in those positions too. So I think a 7 is probably warranted.
Ryan.
I like it. 7. No, you took my defense, so fuck you.
Sorry. Dude, okay, so everybody, the way this league fucking drafts just fucks me in so many ways. It's like there are so many like quarterbacks and defenses going so early.
I told him. I was like, you can't anticipate the way this league drafts. It's so weird.
After round
I did not
3,
tell you before. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Did I not tell you before this started there will be 2 QBs taken in the first round?
Yeah, you did.
like after round 3, it's a fucking crapshoot because if you have a defense or a quarterback pegged for when you want them, like fifth, sixth, quarterback in like 6th, 7th round, they're gone. Like
They're gone.
they're gone. So you have to draft who you want earlier, which fucks you over at like my running back position. Like being where I was, like obviously I got Dalvin Cook because
That's a godsend
That's a
for you.
great-
Though. Like it's great.
and then I got another pick, 4
Devonta
picks,
Adams is who
4
you
picks
pick next.
later. Yeah. And it was like after that, like I had to wait 20 fucking picks to pick again. So it's like, I've got to get the 2 best players that I possibly could. And then, the rest. Quarterbacks were gone. Defenses, kickers were
I
fucking starting to come
blame
off. I also blame Jed.
I blame him for most of the problems in my life, though. So
I personally think that
Well, the
people
thing
are-
is, Jed started that shit.
The
The
quarterback in the
first year
first
that
round.
Jed played with us, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
drafted like 20 running backs. It fucked everybody's draft order.
Oh yeah. I think that Hayden Hurst. I think Hayden Hurst is a good tight end. He's on a new team that had one of the best tight ends in fantasy last year. I think he's going to do really well in Atlanta. I think Will Fuller, like I said earlier, like he's the,
Yeah, I like Hayden Hurst, and he's a natural athlete too.
Yeah.
Like he was actually drafted by the Pirates in 2012.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's like Kyler Murray. He got drafted into the baseball too and
Yeah.
went to football instead. I think Will Fuller is going to be a good wide receiver this year too. I mean, I'm up and down.
Did the main audio cut out again? Like, with,
Oh yeah, the internet's freezing up left and right on their end.
That's all right. You don't have to tell us. This is a podcast.
says the 2 people with Androids.
Yeah, right. Sounds to me like it's an Android problem because we're all using Macs over here and it's fine.
Lyndon and I don't think I've ever had an issue hearing Lyndon.
I'm on my
He's never cut out the-
I'm on my computer on gigabit internet, so
Yeah, it got a little quiet on my end too.
Because he's
Ah, Suck it.
I'm gonna
Daniel.
give. I'm giving myself a 6. I think my bench has a lot of downside. So
Lyndon.
dun
me
dun
go-
dun. It's time to rate that draft. Lyndon, for people who are listening, he
If you're still listening at this point.
yeah he's an old head in this league. He was actually not in the league last year, but he came back this year.
It had nothing to do with his fantasy performance. It's just how we felt about him personally. But since Jed and Jess are both gone, we decided to bring him back into the fold.
Yeah, and not that was kind of like stated incorrectly because that makes it's going to make people think that we think higher of Jed than Lyndon, which is not the case.
Yeah, oh, no.
Definitely
No,
not.
definitely not the case.
We hate them
Especially after seeing that beard that he's sporting during the
Yeah.
COVID thing.
Yeah, I think
Damn.
way higher of Lyndon than I do Jed. Okay, so Hodors. Ow, that hurts my head. Deshaun Watson, Kenyon Drake, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, Tyler Higbee, DJ Moore, Eagles defense, Chris Boswell, Ben Roethlisberger, DJ Chark, Kareem Hunt, Jared Goff, Deshaun Jackson, Anthony Miller, Titans defense. Josiah, rate that team.
I will. Deshaun Watson, who I feel like is a superstar. He was rated really high last year and didn't really necessarily do it, but I think he's going to be good. Kenyon Drake had some like 3 touchdown games at the end of last season. I'm excited to see what he does. Todd Gurley, the last time someone went from the Rams to the Falcons, what was that guy's name? Nathan, do you know? Whatever his name was. He was
Steven
really
Jackson.
Steven Jackson, that's right. Absolutely crapped out. So if history repeats itself, maybe that will happen again. But I think Todd Gurley will do well. Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett as his receivers. He has DJ Chark there. He has Deshaun Jackson, Anthony Miller. I feel like DJ Moore is his best receiver as far as those guys go.
I don't know. I think DJ Chark's gonna have a big year being the
I think
number
he
one
is
receiver.
too, but I think DJ Moore with what's the guy's name that's their quarterback now? I know who he is. I just forget it.
Carolina?
Yeah. He was the Saints backup from last
Oh,
year.
Bridgewater.
I think DJ Moore is going to do great with Bridgewater. So,
I just think Jacksonville's gonna be playing from behind a lot, and Chark's just going to have a lot more upside in that area. That's just my opinion, though.
So I feel like he has a lot of
Yep.
really good, really good players. I'm not sold on the tight end Tyler Higbee, and I don't see a backup tight end there, so that could be a problem. So I'm gonna give this a 6.5, and that's just completely because I don't trust Tyler Higbee, but he has some really good players. If he can figure out his tight end position, he could go pretty far. Ben Roethlisberger coming back, that is a big risk. Anthony Miller has had all the potential in the world for like the last 2 or 3 seasons. Kareem Hunt could be really good, especially if Nick Chubb doesn't stay healthy the whole season. But 6.5 just based solely on the tight end. If not, that would probably be an 8 for me.
I'm not really a big fan of the running backs. Todd Gurley, just a no-go. Like, they're already saying that he's having to take time off of practice because of his knees. Like, that's just doesn't bode well in training camp. Kenyon Drake could have a 3 or 4 touchdown game, but,
He also had some really bad games at the end of last year, too.
So, quarterback, I like Deshaun Watson. I think he's a solid quarterback. Robert Woods, I think Robert Woods is going to be the best receiver in L.A. Couldn't think of the fucking city. I almost said St. Louis. But
he's probably the best receiver in St. Louis as well, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they only have a baseball team.
Tyler Lockett, I think he's really good. I like your wide receivers way more than I like your running backs. I'd give this one I haven't rated anybody above a 7? 6.5. Suck it. You got a higher rating than I did. Ryan, rate that team.
It's all right, 6.5.
All right. He just goes off of the last person's rating.
That's not true.
Bruce, it has been for the last 3.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, hey, you got my Eagles defense on there, so.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all know why I like the Eagles, so.
The Eagles. They've got a lot of injuries already, even on their defense. Like, that makes me happy. Having Washington and the Giants and then the Eagles that are injury prone.
Also, I think you're the only team that picked up two defenses, aren't you?
I think so. Which could be smart.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next? Bruce, Michael, whichever one.
Let Bruce go.
Bruce, rate that team. Bruce, can you hear us? Michael, rate that team.
Now I can.
There he is.
Like every 5 seconds, we can hear you.
I don't get it. All right.
I would give it a 6. I'm not impressed with the running back slots that you have. I don't know if Gurley is going to do well this year, but you do have Deshaun Watson, which is going to be a solid quarterback. Obviously, he's going to be really strong. So I would give it a 6 overall.
I'm going to give you a 4 for pronouncing Deshaun Watson's name wrong. Bruce. And taking Edward Hilaire. Michael, rate that team.
I obviously like Deshaun Watson. Any quarterback that can take a literal foot to the eyeball and then just keep playing is an absolute champion.
He's such a baller. I love Deshaun Watson.
I think that's a great pickup. I have to agree with majority of what everyone else says. I don't like the quarterback core. Obviously, Kenyon
Running
Drake.
back?
Yes, I'm sorry. Running back core. Obviously, the potential for Kenyon Drake to come out and have his 20, 30-point game every week is there, but Todd Gurley really scares me. However, he is your RB2. So if he gets you, 15 points a game, that's a good position to be in. However, that being said, him being on a decline literally every year just from a degenerative injury standpoint, it does scare me. I agree with Robert Woods being your number 1, but only because I think Cooper Kupp he's young, he's healthy, he's fast, he's quick, but he's always going to have that coverage on him. So I think Robert Woods is going to pick up the slack that Cooper Kupp have, assuming that what's his nuts over there at QB position, Jared Goff can get his head out of his ass because he's garbage. All right? I cannot state that enough. Jared Goff is garbage, and I would never pick up anyone on the Rams. Suck it, Rams. I don't know anything about Tyler Higbee, so I can't state that. I think DJ Moore is a great pickup. I don't like your Eagles defense. I think it's a bad pickup. I think Ben Roethlisberger being your quarterback, I think he's going to play it safe, and I think he's going to be good this year. As much as I hate to give Steelers any credit, I think that's a solid pickup, and I think your bench has a good, other than Jared Goff, obviously, suck at Jared Goff, a good 10-point per slot piece. So I think as far as backup, I think you're relatively stacked. I had Kareem Hunt last year. Even behind Nick Chubb picking up 30 points a game, Kareem Hunt was still a solid 10 to 15-point player. So I'm going to have to give you a 7.5 on this one. I'll go 7.5.
Nathan, rate that team.
I like your starting quarterback and your backup. I think Roethlisberger is probably going to have a better year, honestly, than Watson. Running backs, I wasn't a fan because I feel like he could have taken Mixon over both of those, and I feel like that he's going to have a better year than both of them. Like your receivers. Tight ends, I feel like you probably could have gotten another tight end instead of drafting a third quarterback and a second defense, but it has potential with your running backs. Drake can go for 150 yards. And I just don't think Gurley is the same anymore. His knees are jacked, and I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Solid. All right, is that everybody?
Lyndon, rate your team.
Oh yeah, Lyndon, rate your own team.
10 out of 10 would not do different.
No, I would probably give myself a 7. The running backs, it's a crapshoot, right? Like, I drafted based on upside, right? Gurley, who knows? He could go off and he could have huge production. Like, he's only missed 4 games over the last 3 seasons, even being with his knees fucked up and everything. Kenyon Drake, I think he's going to be solid. Like, he's running in Cliff Kingsbury's offense now, so I think that's going to bode well for him. But yeah, I'd probably give myself a 7.
All right. And last, and certainly not least, the newbie, the one, the only, Ryan Turner.
Hey, that's me.
Hey,
that's you.
Ryan,
Yeah.
All right.
mayor of TD City.
Mayor of TDCD.
My favorite team name, by the
Yeah,
way.
I do like that team name.
Other than Josiah's, but he had the same name last year, so I got
this
to
one's
secede
fresh.
to Ryan.
Thank you.
All right, we've got Drew Brees, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Michael Thomas, Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram, Ronald Jones, Colts defense, Harrison Butker, AJ Green, Darrell Henderson, Cam Newton, Tevin Coleman, Debo Samuel, Latavius Murray, Darius Slayton.
This team,
It's time to rate that team.
I hadn't looked at this team yet.
it's good.
I agree. I'll
really
start
good.
if you want,
Go for it, Michael.
just because I know little, and you guys will be able. It'll be a compounding effect. You can't go wrong with Drew Brees, best quarterback in the NFL, best quarterback of all time.
As long as he doesn't get cucked by Taysom Hill.
I agree. They like to switch it up. Nick Chubb proved himself last year. Nick Chubb was a solid pickup. I mean, that's a solid 25, 30 points a game. I have an issue with Leonard Fournette, obviously, as everyone does.
Jacksonville has an issue with Leonard Fournette.
He's a punk. He can't stay on the field. It's not an injury thing. It's a personality thing. Like, he's just an asshole. So I don't know how at the last pick you snagged Michael Thomas and still got Nick Chubb and Drew Brees. Good for you. Like, that's fantastic to have. I think having Drew Brees and Michael Thomas on your team is going to pay dividends, as well as Cortland Sutton and Nick Chubb. Like, I mean, your top 5 players are there are 100 points, like, right away. So,
And Cortland Sutton was a late
It
pick too.
it was.
I was surprised he was still there. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't personally think Cortland Sutton is 20 points, but I think he's going to land you at least 10 points a game, and I think that's great. I don't know how I feel about Ronald Jones, but you got your flex there, but you have to consider everyone else you have on the bench to put in that flex spot. AJ Green could come back clutch and be that 25-point player every game.
You're still living off that from last year, dude.
Dude, yeah, I'm fine with it. You have no reason to think that he's not going to come back.
Oh
and
no,
be great.
it's just funny.
But I mean, also look at that. Latavius Murray last year was still on New Orleans, still picking up 15 points a game. Darius Slayton still going to get you anywhere from 5 to 15 points. Deebo Samuel, if he ever comes back healthy, a wide receiver on that team is still going to get you anywhere from 10 to 15 points. There's depth here. There's solid starters here. And no reason to think that all these people aren't going to play healthy seasons other than Leonard Fournette, and it's not a health issue, it's a personality issue. I'm going to have to give this an 8. Like, I like this team a lot. Josiah?
I completely agree. I was going to give it an 8 as well. Nick Chubb, I took Derrick Henry. Nick Chubb was that's the one I tossed up. I was hoping he would come back to me. He did not.
And he had Nick Chubb last year, for those listening.
Yeah, I did have Nick Chubb last year. The reason I picked Derrick Henry over Nick Chubb is because Chubb has Kareem Hunt sitting there, so Kareem Hunt might get 10 carries a game or whatever, but who knows? But I've just felt like Derrick Henry was the higher chance to get all the carries than Nick Chubb. But Nick Chubb, I wanted him. Michael Thomas, best receiver in the NFL, especially as far as fantasy goes. He has Drew Brees to throw Michael Thomas touchdowns. And if Drew Brees isn't even on the field, Michael Thomas can still catch a touchdown from like 6 other players. Leonard Fournette, I don't hate him as much as everybody else. He is a hard downhill runner, and he does not take any cuts. So if his offensive line can give him just like a sliver, he can get 4 or 5 yards a carry and potentially bust a big one. So I think that's a really good pick as far as
for where he picked him up. It is for sure.
Cortland Sutton, I feel like, is part of the transformation that's going on in Denver. I think they could be really good in a few years, and Cortland Sutton's going to be their best receiver. Evan Ingram, great tight end. Ronald Jones, I don't love that pick. I don't even know if he's going to start. I don't know if he's even going to be the backup for that team. But
as a flex,
like Michael said, AJ Green, if he's healthy, could be great. Deebo Samuel could be back in a few weeks and be great. Latavius Murray could take Alvin Kamara's spot like he did last year and be great. Darius Slayton did really well towards the end of the year last year. He was one of the players I was looking at. And Tevin Coleman, as Michael said, he was one of the players that the 49ers thought were going to be their starting running back last year, and then they split it up between 4 running backs. They've gotten rid of 2 of those running backs, and now Tevin Coleman has a chance to be their starting running back. I'm giving this team an 8. It's really solid. It definitely shows the benefit of picking number 10 over number 7. That's all I have to say.
AKA, I'm jealous.
I am jealous. I wanted to pick number 9, but good job as far as your first year goes. Maybe you'll get some first year good luck, especially with a player like Cam Newton.
It's a thing.
I did not have that first year good luck. I think I finished like second to last, but no, I finished dead last that year. No, I finished second to last because Daniel got the first pick. Anyway, Bruce, answer some questions before I go to sleep. I'm tired. It's already tomorrow, I believe.
It is. It's midnight.
Yep.
Not for me.
For this team, I just gave it a 7. I gave it a 7 mainly. I was just concerned about the wide receiver core, his backups. If anything, I don't know. AJ Green is going to be a good one to cover, but that flex with Ronald Jones, you may have to throw another person in there anyway. I just gave it a 7 because I was concerned about some of the backup in the position and spreading too thin. He does have Debo out already, but yeah.
Nathan, give this a rating so you can go to bed. Okay. Nathan, he's sleeping over there.
It's a solid team. I think Fournette's going to have I don't like Fournette, but I think he's going to have a good year. Chubb is going to be good. The receivers, I think, are solid. Once Samuel gets healthy again, I think AJ Green's going to have a good year. It's it's a solid team. Probably could use a backup tight end, but I don't like. I would put Coleman over Jones, and I like Latavius Murray. So it's a solid team, and you never know with Cam Newton could have a big year too. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
I agree with that. Cam Newton could be your starter by the end of the year if he puts up some points like he did a couple years ago. Lyndon, rate that team.
Yeah, I'm probably going 7.5 to 7.5 as well. How about that?
7.52.
Yeah, I think I like Nick Chubb.
You would.
Fournette, he's a tool, but he puts up numbers. So, like, that's fantasy production is king. So, Cam Newton, I think I agree. I hate Cam Newton. Like, I think he's a punk, but I think he might be the starter by the end of the year, maybe, because he's going to come out and he's going to play his ass off. He signed a 1-year bare minimum deal. Yeah. Like, he is playing to stay. So how he does this season is going to determine where he goes from there. So, yeah. So I like that upside. I think 7.5.
Daniel?
I think Drew Brees is going to have a down year. I don't think he's going to be your starting quarterback by the end of the year, like everybody's saying. I think Cam Newton's going to move up into that spot. I personally don't think that Drew Brees is going to do well as an NFL quarterback, let alone a fantasy quarterback this year, as well as he has. Let me put it in those words. He's still going to do well. He's just not going to be as productive as normal. That's my take on it. I like Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette. I'm down on him as a person and as a running back. I don't think he's going to produce shit this year, and I don't think that's saying anything about him as a running back. I really didn't, and I kept saying about Jacksonville. I don't think Jacksonville wants to keep him.
I don't think so either.
He was on the trade block all off season. I think by the end of the year, Leonard Fournette's not even going to be playing for Jacksonville. There's going to be a starting running back somewhere in the league that goes down, and Jacksonville's going to trade him. That's my prediction. So while he's at Jacksonville, I don't think he's going to do much. Michael Thomas is solid. He's solid. Cortland Sutton, I'm worried about Cortland Sutton because of the wide receivers there now. But I still think he's going to be solid. Evan Ingram. I think everybody's kind of sleeping on the Giants' offense this year. Like, yeah, it's the Giants, and they're in the division with the Cowboys. But, Jason Garrett as an offensive coordinator might not be a bad thing for that team. I think there's a lot of upside for especially Evan Ingram. A lot of claps. But that's
true. Big true.
Yeah, there's you've got a lot of potential on your team, but there's also a lot of downside on your team. There's a lot of guys that could pop off and go crazy for you and score you a lot of points, but those same people could do nothing for you. And I think it's kind of scary, but I wouldn't be mad at this if I had most of this team.
I wouldn't either. I like it a lot.
But keeping in the tradition, 6.5. Nobody gets above a 7. Suck it.
That's fair.
Ryan, rate your team.
You were saying earlier, I'm surprised that Michael Thomas lasted as long as he did. Because I remember when we first started talking about that, I was like, I might pick him up, I get a running back, then pick up Michael Thomas as my wide receiver, and you're like, oh, it's not going to happen. He'll go like first round pick 6 or something like that. Well, that's what happened. I got Nick Chubb and then Michael Thomas in the first round.
Blown away.
So I was happy about that.
Thanks, Josh. Drafting fucking quarterbacks in the first round.
Yep.
As far as the rest of it goes, I picked Drew Brees solely on the fact that Michael Thomas is his wide receiver. So if I get points from throwing picks,
touchdowns.
Yeah. But I don't know. I know, Daniel, you cringed whenever I picked Leonard Fournette. I don't know anything about him.
I just don't think he's going to be good this year.
Yeah. Also, I don't know anything about Ronald Jones. You guys kept talking a lot about him, maybe not producing a whole lot. But, again, he's the flex. I can move him out.
I I agree with that. I mean, like we all said, I don't think anyone's high on Ronald Jones in that flex spot, but your bench is solid enough to be able to move around it.
And it's not that, this isn't his starting roster. Like, this is the order that it was drafted
Yeah,
in,
for sure.
Ronald Jones was I think he was a first-round pick, either early second-round pick, but he was a very highly rated running back coming out of USC, and he got to Tampa Bay. He just couldn't learn the playbook, and he kind of underperformed last year. But so they did pick a running back very high last year, but Ronald Jones was a very highly recruited guy, and if he can deliver on some of his talent, then
It's true. With a whole new team.
he could be really good. But a lot of people just they drafted his replacement last year for a reason. Hopefully,
Actually, that's a good point, because being on Tampa Bay, you now have Tom Brady as a quarterback. Now everyone sees Calvin Ridley and Mike Evans, or not Calvin Ridley, I'm sorry, Mike Evans and the other guy on their team. What's his name?
Godwin?
Godwin.
Yeah, Chris Godwin, and then you also have Gronkowski there, so that really frees up a lot of the defense is going to be looking. So it might free up some holes for Ronald Jones.
For their offense, like I don't know how it's going to go, because I mean, if you just look at like Tom Brady and running backs, like Tom Brady never has a very great running back, especially a fantasy running back next to him.
They always split carries.
So, but it's Bruce Arians' offense, but he's more, it's Bruce Arians. So I'm just not high on anybody on Tampa's offense until I see them, because I just don't know what's gonna happen there.
Ryan, what number did you give yourself?
I haven't rated it yet.
Oh, okay.
I was going to give it a 7.5.
I can agree with that. I gave it an 8.
And then again, Debo Samuel, I know he's out right now, but you guys were talking a lot about how if he did come back, he might, pop
He'll be
off.
the 49ers' best receiver.
I took that one on a leap of faith there. So
Yeah, especially because there's no fucking wide receivers there right now.
I'm
There's
still-
George Kittle.
They saw him doing like wind sprints at practice. So.
hold on, wait, what
Wait,
just
hold
happened?
on. You're okay. One at a time, please.
Okay, I was just gonna say Debo. Like, news is they saw him doing wind sprints at practice. So
Well, that's good news. They need him.
yeah, they do.
So, Bruce, were you saying something? There's no rookies on this team.
No, I just said Debo was going to be a good pickup. Like,
Word.
even though he's out right now, Debo's going to be a solid. He was a solid waiver pickup last year, and I think he's just going to follow up on it this year.
Word.
I still stand by it. I don't think AJ Green is anything to sleep on. He's still athletic as hell. He was practicing half the year last year. He just said, until I feel like I'm ready to come back, that's when I'm coming back. So
I'm not saying he's
Yeah,
going to
no.
be
With
bad.
the healthy Debo, what I would do with that is I would probably plug Debo into the second wide receiver slot and put AJ at the flex.
I would.
see.
I mean, I would give AJ Green a week to see how. I think AJ Green really depends on how Joe Burrow does.
I agree.
Like, that's
Yeah,
just
that's
my-
true.
He had like the best year for a fucking college quarterback his senior year, but
It
never translates over to the NFL. So it's hard to tell. I mean, he could be a number one wide receiver. He could be the number one wide receiver this year.
All in all, though, I gotta
never
say, fantastic first draft. That's a solid lineup, in my opinion.
Except for Leonard Fournette.
Well, you were talking up AJ
As a
Green
second.
as you were looking at him on one pick, and then you didn't pick him, and it came back around to me, and I was like, okay, great, we'll take that one.
All right. So to sum it up, Michael got the highest overall rated draft with a 7.7.
Boom.
Nathan got a 7.6. Josh and Ryan both got a 7.4. Let me see. Daniel got a 6.9. Brittany got a 6.7.
69.
Lyndon got a 6.6. Josiah got a 6.5. Roger got a 6.5. And Bruce got a 5.75. So,
Suck it.
so if we rated this just solely based off of our opinion, Josh, Ryan, Michael, and Nathan would be your playoff teams this year.
Not necessarily. This is just based on draft.
I know. I'm just saying based on our scores.
I do think, for the interest of it being a podcast, though, keep that on the record books, because I think that'll be
I have
interesting
it written
to see
down,
how.
and
Dude,
This
I
is
comes back
also
to.
without Roger's opinion on the final few teams
Yeah, 'cause
because
he just dipped out.
He just hard dipped out. So did Nathan, but that's fine because this has been a long podcast and I'm tired.
He just texted me actually.
this
Phone
was
died.
this would have gone a lot smoother. I lost all of my notes, all of our suggestions for this year. They're all gone, and I
Oh.
can't get them back. We tried it
We did.
in
Feels
iCloud.
bad.
They're just gone.
Thanks,
so-
Apple.
Well, it's been real, guys.
Yeah,
Good
thanks.
draft.
Thanks for
Yeah.
coming.
Yep.
I'll
Thanks
catch
for
you guys
sticking around for
later.
the discussion. The viewers will thank you, hopefully, if they make it this far into the show.
They won't. Don't worry. If you're
We
still
shall see.
listening, Michael said he was going to give everybody a handy.
Yay.
I'll just break it up into
Like
few
a big,
episodes. It'll be
big
fun.
round of applause.
Oh, well, Bruce is gone.
But yeah, so we're back.
Yeah, we're back. We're good. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't.
Well, that's a good thing to end it on. Lyndon, take us home.
All right, we're going home.
Shit.
It was good to be here. It's back to be playing with you guys again. I know I missed last year.
It's back to be here playing with you guys.
Playing with you guys.
It's back to be here.
Yeah, I'm like playing with myself, which I'm going to do after this.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Stop it.
Bye-bye.
No, it's still going.
Oh, okay. Thanks for listening.